Hi, this is Madhu from Success Next. You know, a lot of times students here come and ask me how to speak and sound more American, right? They may be having various reasons of why they want to sound American. They're going for a study abroad, they want to be working there, or they're doing a lot of business over there. Whatever might be your reason, it is really not that difficult to sound more American. Once you have your accent neutralized, like in terms of your accent not sounding too Indian, right? You have a neutral accent. From there, shifting it to slightly American is not that big of a challenge. In this video, I'm going to be giving you around 5 to 6 tips that is very critical for you to sound more American. Let's continue watching. So now let's jump into tips to make you sound more American. These tips, if you follow, will make you sound more American. Also, it's a better way to understand someone who's from US, right? When you understand how they speak, you will be able to understand them better. So for any Indian out here who wants to sound a little bit more American, follow these tips. The first one, you have to stress the right syllable. So every word, right, has at least 2 or 3 or 4 syllables, so you need to know which syllable to stress. For example, let's take the word H-O-T-E-L, right? Hotel, right? So there's 2 syllables, there are 2 syllables, ho and tel. But which one do you stress? You are stressing the second syllable, right? Tel. So the hotel, you need to really exaggerate the second syllable, right? Hotel, right? So that's how you sound more natural and more native when you are pronouncing a particular word. Or for example, let's take this word A-M-E-R-I-C-A-N, American, right? There are 4 syllables in that word, right? American, American. So which syllable is being stressed? It's American, right? Ameri, the second syllable. So when you are pronouncing the word American, you want to stress the second syllable, American, right? And the other syllables kind of compensate for that. You de-stress them, you sound these other syllables slightly in a lower tone and not as a full syllable. It's usually like the sound shwa, shwa, like you are almost suppressing the sound of the other syllables. For example, American, American, right? So you're really stressing the second syllable, and the third and the fourth syllable becomes a lot shorter. Okay. The second tip is to do with the letter T. In US, most people either don't pronounce the word T or they pronounce it as D, right? B-U-T-T-R is not butter. In US, we call it butter, butter. Like it's more of a D sound rather than a T sound. Same thing with water, right? It's not water. When you want water, you have to say, can I have some water, right? Not water, it's water. All right, so let's look at some more tips here, all right? So the other thing that we have to remember is the stop T. So this is actually very, very funny, but I think it's some people find it difficult to pronounce it. But whenever Americans pronounce T, sometimes they don't fully say it. For example, R-I-G-H-T, right? Like, how did I pronounce it? I pronounced it as right. The T is almost non-existent, right? I'm not saying it as right. I'm saying it as right because you're stopping that T. The next one to remember is glottal T. So the glottis is an organ in the throat, right? So whenever you are pronouncing T in certain instances, the letter T is stopped at the glottis. Usually when a yan-T combination is followed by a vowel or there is double T, this happens. For example, right, sentence, right? We just looked at it, sentence. People in US, when they are speaking fast or when they're speaking, in a natural way, they don't really stress the letter T. They pronounce it sentence, sentence, not really sentence. That's not to say pronouncing sentence is wrong, but sentence is how typically people pronounce it. Same thing with international, right? They don't really stress the T there like how I just did, but it's more like international flight. Winter for winter, right? Similarly, a lot of words, like for example, mountain, right? You know, there is the T there is kind of stopped. It's mountain. So whenever there is a T or a D between consonants, for example, old man, right? So LDM, old man. So that T or D is removed. So the old man, you say old man rather than saying old man. Old man. Most famous is most famous rather than saying it as most famous. Words ending in consonant next with a vowel or the same consonant blend. So for example, social life, right, becomes social life rather than social life. So you are combining those two words together. Assimilation, right? Whenever there are two words together, you try to combine them into a slightly easier word, like don't you, right? When you say don't you, we say don't ya, like don't ya, right? Rather than pronouncing those two words separately, US people usually say, don't you want to do that? Instead of don't you want to do that, right? Same thing with did you, like did you go to the movies? We say like, did you go to the movies, right? Did you instead of did you, all right? So that's how you assimilate two words together. This is called as assimilation. The next one is intrusion. Okay, this one is a slightly common thing in certain parts of US, not necessarily everywhere. For example, let's do it. So let's do it. Instead of saying those two words separately, there is a W sound in between, right? Do it. Do it becomes do it. Whenever there is an R after a vowel, like for example, word, right? You pronounce it as word, rather than word, right? It is not O-R, it is pronounced as E-R, word, rather than word. Same thing with world, rather than a world, W-O-R-L-D. So it's more like a R sound, rather than, it's like grinding your teeth, rather than O-R sound. Also, to sound more American, try to use phrasal verbs that are American, right? Like awesome rather than saying good. How are you doing? How are you doing? Right? You say, I'm awesome. That's cool. Take it easy rather than saying bye-bye. You say, take it easy. That's definitely a phrase that's more common in the US rather than other parts of the world. Also, use words that are more Americanized or American form rather than the British form of the words. For example, instead of a tap, you say faucet, right? So say faucet instead of a tap. Say beets instead of beetroot. Elevator instead of lift, right? Eggplant instead of brinjal. Like people from India always call this vegetable brinjal, or the Britishers call it aubergine, I guess, right? But use the word eggplant. So I'm going to have another video of all the American words and phrases that can be used as a replacement for Indian English words. Do watch that video. Subscribe to our channel to get notified when that video is posted online. This is Madhu from Success Next. We are located at Nungambakkam, Chennai. If you would like to speak more naturally in American English or any other type of accent, Australian or British, do visit us for accent training. This is Madhu from Success Nest. Have a great day practicing English. Bye-bye.